I'm Michelle from the Starling Tribune, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
As a Canadian, I will say that more than likely, I'm just going to get screwed another way. That's the way it always works.
They're knowledgeable.
Maybe that's where life began, on MU-69. We don't know.
And sometimes they're a bit angry.
Skype, I'm breaking up with you. It's not me, it's totally you.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 215 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Stephen John Drew, and with me, of course, is Stargate Pioneer.
Steven just informed me that life began in the back of my dad's car.
That's absolutely true. We've also got Chris.
Does your dad drive a Volkswagen?
Oh, by the way, that joke goes over the head of our younger viewers, which, by the way, younger viewers, why are you listening to this show?
Steven, they're not that young. That movie came out in like 1993 or 4. So maybe 6.
Yeah, we're here with another edition of your favorite podcast called the official GonnaGeek.com show, because we're not just a podcast. That's right. We have a full YouTube companion. If you want to check that out at youtube.com/GonnaGeek, you can find all of the awesome Gonna Geek content, unless, of course, you're looking for gear content. If that's the case, you want to go over to www.geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear and check out the YouTube channel over there for Gonna Geek Gear. We're always getting some talks over there. People are always criticizing us, telling us that we should not use dynamic microphones. We should always use condensers.
Want me to
On
plug
my
mine in?
video, they tell me to use the ribbon microphones, not the dynamic microphones.
Oh.
I'm ready. I'm back. I'm going back to the old school here, guys. My Blue Yeti. I'm going to plug it in during the break, and I'm going to podcast with this the rest of the show.
I like that your windscreen doesn't cover the entire top of the cage.
Yeah, you know what? This was a 99-cent windscreen, and the one that would fit was $9.99.
For you audio listeners, I will tell you that Chris is holding up his old microphone. It is a big, thick Blue Yeti, just like other parts of his life. It's thick and short, and it has a cover on it. So there you go, and the cover doesn't fully fit.
I missed you, old friend.
And by the way, Chris is now caressing his microphone. So if you want to check out these and other antics, you should definitely check out the Gonna Geek Network, because we have a variety of different podcasts on there, and we promise you, everybody else's humor is better than ours. So let's go ahead and roll into the news. This week, we're going to start off with some wonderful...
That's gimmick infringement, damn it. That's gimmick infringement.
That's not right.
SB, why don't you fill in our audio listeners on what's going on right now?
So Steven took one of his microphones, the CR-77, and he also caressed and cradled it and held it close to his cheek. So I think there's a little bit of microphone envy and a microphone love going on tonight. And yeah, I think it's time to move on to the regular news.
All right, so let's start off with some awesome news. This is my favorite news of the week. That's right. You may be familiar with the wonderful iPhone X, also known as the iPhone 10. This is Apple's brand new iPhone. It's glorious. It finally uses a Samsung OLED screen. It has no physical button. It is a modern phone for the modern user. And they decided that it's so modern that they're going to get rid of the wonderful Touch ID. You know, the fingerprint reader, they get rid of that. but they put in a cool face thing so that it could just see your face and unlock your phone. And they put a lot of effort into making sure this was secure. They didn't want to go the Android route, where if you've ever used the Android face recognition, you'll realize that it is easily fooled by a picture. No, they put a lot of money into their research, and thus it is 100% still possible to break it. Yeah, this came out this week that apparently a Vietnamese cybersecurity firm, that they claim that they did manage to bypass the iPhone X's Face ID feature by using a mask. Now, it's not a traditional mask, which is where things get interesting, because Apple actually consulted with a bunch of leading Hollywood and special effects people to try different masks so that they could hopefully avoid having a mask fool somebody. And they succeeded, apparently, but no. This mask looks really weird, and if you want to check this out, you can go to geeks.link/mask. That's geeks.link/mask. It will either take you to the article or SP's individual rendition of the Jim Carrey hit film. So it's one of the two.
Crusaders, 80s cartoon, buddy.
Nope, Jim Carrey film. So geeks.link/mask, and you can see this mask because it is not what you would think of a usual mask. The mask actually costs, though, about $150. And what it does is there's certain features that it essentially emphasizes and just really helps play with the technology that is behind the iPhone X's Face ID. Now, it looks really, really weird, but yeah, apparently it works. And the scary thing about it is, yeah, $150 is expensive, but if you have a bunch of phones that you're trying to get into, $150 is not actually that much if it was an actual theft ring or something like that. So we'll see. I'm sure that this will eventually get patched, maybe, if that's possible. My guess is they'll find a way around it, but you know, it's just an example that exploitation is pretty much always going to happen on any form of consumer level security.
So first of all, Stephen, you said it's going to get patched eventually. Are you talking about the mask needing patching, or are you talking about the phone software needing patching?
I believe there was a scene in the movie The Mask where Jim Carrey does have to patch his mask. So, oh wait, that was Mrs. Doubtfire. Never mind.
Help is on the way. Okay, so that was number one. Number two is I was listening to this story on my Amazon personal assistant as I came home, and I told her to read me the news, and the news was being read, and I was listening to the story. Apparently, the eyes and the nose and the mouth, they were actually 2D printed and put it on there in order for this mask to completely work. So you had this funky mask, you had this 2D printed eyes, and so this is not your normal Scooby-Doo mask at all. This is some freaky looking crap.
It is.
It's not Mission Impossible, guys. It's not Tom Cruise under a weird mask.
But who cares, right? Because for $150, you get yourself a free iPhone X.
Well, I mean, that being said, that there are some things to consider. This is kind of a special case. They are able to take the time they need to build one of these masks. From what I could tell from reading, is the iPhone X is going to default after 4 hours of inactivity, I think it is, on the lock screen. It then requires your PIN to enter. And then there's something about 2 days worth of inactivity where like Face ID is disabled or something too. So you have a very narrow window in which to do this. Now, that doesn't mean you can't prep ahead of time, being like, oh, I know I want to get Steven's phone, and as soon as he sets it down, I'm going to bust out this fake mask I've been carrying around in my backpack and log into his phone. It's possible, but we need more information on what the methodology is and how they solved the problem before we can go about saying it's busted. It certainly looks like it has been busted, but as I started reading more on this story itself, I found out that this company wants to get into the cell phone business, wants to start selling hardware. So what better way to get your name out there and be like, oh, we cracked the iPhone X. We need to wait and see more of what happened here. Yeah, do I think it's likely? Sure, I think it's likely. Face is the weaker of the big three biometric modalities. So it seems likely that you could crack that despite Apple's twist of putting the depth sensing 3D technology in it. The approach they took of making a custom face mask, it's pretty cool. I mean, it looks cool when you start looking into how they built it and you're like, okay, this is really cool. I want to know more about their whole process of breaking it, though.
Here's the thing, though, that it comes down to for me is that I'm a consumer. I don't have high security stuff on my phone. I am looking for the right balance of convenience and security. I want both. And if it ends up being too much of a problem for security, then I lose the convenience, then the trade-off isn't there. I want this balance. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of convenience for some security, but I don't want to go the other end where I lose a lot of convenience for high security. It's my consumer phone.
So what I would love to see for a Gen 2 of Face ID is we saw Samsung make a big play with the Note this time around of, we've got iris cameras in here. We're doing work with irises. I would love to see Gen 2 iPhone Face ID be face and iris. Take the two biometrics. I leave latent face images. Theoretically, you could take a bunch of videos from the podcast and things like that, and you could stitch together a 3D model of my face, potentially print it on a 3D printer. It would probably be hard, but I could see where it might be possible. It'd be very tough to capture my iris at a resolution you would need off of here. So I would love to see them go the multimodal route, because it's two biometrics you got to successfully match to get in, and it's more secure. And we've already seen they're doing it on Android, where the phone's got to be about 6 to 12 inches from your face, something like that. So the technology is there. The Face ID sensor, it's an astonishing piece of engineering tech. I love it. I'm intrigued by it. I just want to see them add an iris camera to it also.
I want the Touch ID back. I just think it's such a
dude, that's gone.
I know. It's such a critical miss.
Next iPads aren't even going to have it, from what the leaks are saying. They're going to go to Face ID on everything. So you're going to have you're going to have a notch on the iPad now, and you know that's going to drive some people crazy.
I'll notch you. But bam!
Ow.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some Battlefront news, where you can pay to play, or pay to win, is it?
Well, you always will pay to play. But Star Wars Battlefront 2 is coming out on November 17th. So as we record this, 4 days away, coming for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. A few weeks back, they did the open multiplayer beta for the game, and I played it because I've kind of been sitting there going, I want to give this a try. I like Star Wars, I like shooters, and I played it, and I was a little underwhelmed, but I had some major concerns because microtransactions are the way of the world now. I've complained about it, not on this show, but other shows, where it seems like a lot of electronic arts games are starting to add open world multiplayer in, so they can drop in loot boxes and things like that. And so for those that aren't familiar, loot boxes are basically rewards you get at the end of gameplay when you beat a level or when you finish a multiplayer game with someone. You get loot boxes that have swag. Sometimes it gives you in-game money. Sometimes it gives you special unlockable abilities, things like that. It's become more and more prevalent. And as I played the Battlefront 2 beta, I went, man, there's a lot of loot box junk on here, and I'm going to hate this. And the catch with loot boxes is you can either earn them slowly in-game, or you can say, here's $20 of my hard-earned cash on top of the $60 I've already paid for this game. Let me buy 40 loot boxes and continue to unlock stuff that way. That's where the concept of pay to win comes from. So what do I mean by pay to win? Well, a lot of folks got early access to Battlefront 2 because it was put up as part of the EA Access program and Origin Access. And they started complaining because they found out that the iconic characters you can unlock in Battlefront, like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and things like that, they're all locked. You have to get 60,000 credits of in-game money for Luke Skywalker to unlock him and be able to play with him. It's a pretty steep price on here. And they said, here's what we found out. A user on Reddit broke down, at the current price of 60,000 credits, it's going to take you about 40 hours of gameplay time to earn the right to unlock one hero or villain. That means 40 hours of saving each and every credit. You don't buy any other loot crates. You don't get bonus credits from opening any crates, anything like that. That is basically taking your 250 credits you get on average per 10 minutes of gameplay and saving them to unlock one character. Holy crap, guys. But of course, you can also drop $20 down and just start getting extra credits in game through microtransactions.
Wow. Okay. So before I comment, I want to ask SP. I'm not too familiar with your game ability. Are you a fan of these sort of games? I guess you'd call them shooters. So I want to know, are you a fan of shooter?
I don't think I would quantify $20 as being a micro transaction.
So that was an exaggeration. I apologize.
I would consider like anything under $5 to be a microtransaction. So yeah, $40. I think this is just Disney getting their sweet money back. I'm guessing through licensing and that, oh yeah, we know how to really stick it to people. What was that game that had the little figurines, the Disney Infinity or something like that, they had out there?
Infinity.
Yeah, and that was the same thing, just trying to nickel and dime every red cent from you as you're playing this game. But to get to the question that Steven asked, first-person shooter games, I do like first-person shooter games. I like Halo. I like Mass Effect, which I know there's some story in those games, but largely like with Halo, it's a first-person shooter game. Now, I haven't played Halo in like a year because I transitioned to Mass Effect and haven't gotten very far with Mass Effect because I'm podcasting 57 hours a week.
Let me clarify a couple things real quick. First of all, microtransactions, there's stuff that's down to like the $1.99 and 99-cent level, which is like unlock one loot box and things like that. But you generally get a better deal on boxes if you buy, say, like $20 at a time. Similar to what you've seen in a lot of your phone and tablet gaming where they do microtransactions to unlock golden coins in game or stuff like that. And second of all, dude, this isn't Disney. This is what EA, Electronic Arts, seems to be going towards now. Disney got paid their licensing fee at this point in time. They got their cash already. They might get a cut of what comes out of it going forward, but this is EA's plan for how to handle in-game unlocks and currency. And we've also seen it happening with other folks like Call of Duty World at War or World War II or whatever came out also has microtransactions in it and stuff like that.
You know, I agree though. I have a hard time saying that is microtransactions. I totally agree with SB on that.
Well, like I said, I over-exaggerated. But hey, I'm not the only person that's confused about this because there's been an uproar on Reddit about it. EA's community team responded to a thread in the Battlefront subreddit yesterday saying that players need that time required to unlock Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker because it's meant to, quote, provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. Yeah, 40 hours per hero, that's a lot of pride or accomplishment. So yeah, people didn't care for that. When I checked the subreddit this afternoon when I got home from work, that comment from Electronic Arts had a whopping negative 228,000 downvotes on Reddit. That is the number one most downvoted item in the history of Reddit. That tells you how much people were upset by that comment. We're like, oh, no, this is BS. It's nearly 10 times the second place most negative downvoted comment in Reddit.
Okay, so let me ask this. Do we think that this is actually a problem, or do we think that this is something that people are just going to get over it?
Well, I don't think people are going to get over it. It is a problem. We've seen a lot of things, and like I said before, EA has become kind of prevalent with it. And there were a lot of folks, if you started looking on the Reddits, that started saying, nope, I'm done with this game. I'm canceling my pre-order. I'm going to GameStop or Target or Best Buy, wherever I pre-ordered from. I'm putting my $5 down on something else. I don't want this. And evidently Electronic Arts and the developer DICE was paying attention. Just before we went to record, I looked and saw an update where DICE, who's the developers, have revealed they will reduce the time it takes to unlock hero characters by 75%. Yeah, that's a huge drop, 75%. Now, it's not just in reaction to the downvotes, it's also because some fans took things too far like they do a lot of times on the internet. One developer at EA, whose tweets are now protected, said he'd received multiple death threats over the way microtransactions work in Battlefront 2. So shame on all of you morons who started sending death threats to the developers. They're following the mandates given to them by their bosses. They're not the ones who are like, oh, we want to microtransaction you to here and back. And number two, death threats on the internet, you're morons. Don't do that.
If I'm not going to pay the whatever it is, the $12 a month for CBS All Access to watch Star Trek Discovery, I'm not paying whatever they're asking for in this particular game, even if I was playing Battlefront 2.
Yeah, it's stuff like this that has me going, you know what? I'm just going to keep playing Halo 5 and things like, it's like Kent says in the chat room, it's like those collectible card game booster packs. That's basically what that is. So to put a ribbon in this, DICE executive producer John Wasiliak, I can't say his name, I apologize, I butchered it, John, had come out in a blog post and said, we're reducing the amount of credits needed to unlock the top heroes by 75%. So now Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are available for 15,000 credits, Emperor Palpatine, Chewbacca, and Leia Organa in 10,000. And based on what we've seen in this trial, the amount will make earning these heroes an achievement, but one that is accessible for all players. So I think this is probably what they should have aimed at to begin with, because honestly, if it's going to take me 40 hours of in-game grinding to unlock one special character, that's going to have me play it and go, oh, the hell with this, I'm done. And I'll go and trade it back into GameStop for my $30 guaranteed.
I'm just glad that I have no plans to buy this whatsoever.
That's fair.
I don't think you have a game system that could play this
I have
right
a PC
now.
that could play this.
Yeah, well, that's true. You
That's
do.
true.
And JS always tried to get me into PC gaming. So there you go.
And you do have the condenser microphone that you could use while gaming.
That's true, actually. I should do that, and that'll be the best audio quality ever.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what do you got on deck for the news this week, Stargate Pioneer?
Ooh, we've got Sierra Nevada's Dream Chaser space plane on deck. Literally, it dropped and it fell onto the deck and it landed safely. So it's on the deck safely, not on a ship in the desert. So what happened? So in a space.com article by Tariq Malik, published on November 12th, 2017, Sierra Nevada's corporation's privately built Dream Chaser space plane aced a critical test on Saturday, the November 11th, during a successful free flight over California's Mojave Desert. The uncrewed, let me just state that again, the uncrewed, so nobody was on board, the uncrewed gene trace.
I thought you were meaning that it wasn't crude. Like, you know, it was proper.
Like you two being crewed?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No. Uncrewed, meaning no one is on board. Dream Chaser made a smooth landing at Edwards Air Force Base during the free flight test at NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center in Edwards, California. Earlier this year, officials at the Armstrong Center, where Dream Chaser is being tested, said the spaceplane would be dropped from an altitude of 12,500 feet by a Columbia 234 UT helicopter for this test. So they didn't disclose that's what happened. They just stated that like months ago. So space.com is inferring that's what happened here. All right. So Dream Chaser looks like a miniature version of a NASA space shuttle. It's about 30 feet long, capable of hauling up to 12,125 pounds of cargo. Nobody on board, remember, cargo to the International Space Station. The spacecraft will launch on Atlas V rockets built by the United Launch Alliance and make runway landings. Sierra Nevada is developing Dream Chaser to deliver supplies to the space station for NASA under the agency's Commercial Resupply Services 2 program. Under that agreement, Sierra Nevada will fly at least 6 cargo delivery missions for NASA by 2024. Saturday's free flight test verified and validated the performance of Dream Chaser in the critical final approach and landing phase of flight, meeting expected models for future return from the International Space Station. This testing validated the aerodynamic properties, flight software, and control system performance of the Dream Chaser. In an accompanying article on space.com by Elizabeth Howell, she stated that the Dream Chaser is a private spacecraft that looks like a stubby version of the space shuttle and is a concept that is currently being tested by Sierra Nevada Corporation based on NASA's design of a 1980s spacecraft prototype. Now, have you guys actually seen the Dream Chaser at all?
I've seen a couple pictures of it because I read an article on it just today during my lunch break, if I recall correctly.
And there you go. Well, the spacecraft's design is based mainly on the HL-20, which was a lifting body that NASA's spacecraft designed in the 80s when they were doing shuttle testing, and that design was itself based on a Soviet spacecraft called the BOR-4, but the HL-20 design was never used for space. And if you are interested in the intrigue of spaceship design, company ownership of intellectual property, I would definitely recommend you to check out Elizabeth Howell's article to learn about the Sierra Nevada Corporation and how they ended up with the rights to this lifting body design and the possibilities, of course, to attain flight to the International Space Station in a resupply mission role. It's not assured, I think, because they weren't picked as one of the two primary, but there are 6 opportunities for them to get up there. So it's a very intriguing, in-depth, fuzzy-wuzzy thing that's going on, but I have to hand it to them. They got something that's actually flying. It dropped, it floated, it was controlled, it landed, it didn't crash. So way to go, Sierra Nevada Corporation, and we hope this works great for you. The one drawback of all this is that it was originally going to compete for both the cargo missions and a crew mission, and unfortunately they didn't get the contract for the crew missions, so there is no human spaceflight capable version of the Dream Chaser in current development.
By the way, I should just say, whenever you say Sierra Nevada, I always feel like you're doing some form of like SP speak, like Delta Tango, Ford Niner,
Whiskey Tango
Foxtrot, Golf, X-Ray Zulu.
Get out of my head, Steven. It's scary in there. Don't be in there.
If we were going to do that, I'd say this is the Sierra November Delta Charlie space plane.
There we go. Okay, so let me ask you this. Wasn't this the situation before that had like a big setback?
Well, there has been a lot of setbacks in the space commercial launch area, but this one's setback was just contractual. They weren't actually decided to be one of the 2 main cargo and crewed capsules that went forward, so they're doing this on their own dime. And
for some reason, I thought that there was some big setback that Sierra Nevada had, but I guess not.
Their setback was contractual.
Must be.
They didn't have it. I think you're thinking of maybe Virgin Galactic when they had the crash with VSS Enterprise.
Could be. I mix them all up, but no, I thought they did. So never mind then. I didn't say that at all. So I won't edit that out.
Totally said that. You totally said that.
Editing's for chumps, right? So
we never edit. We don't believe in it like a lot of other folks out there. Don't edit.
Let me ask you this, Stargate Pioneer. When does Stargate Pioneer spaceships begin?
Who says they haven't already?
Yeah, he is the NASA director. There's probably SP class starships in orbit of our planet right now.
Yeah, it's probably true. All right, moving on to our extra news point. We've got a couple of home gadget related things. Number 1 comes from Chris Farrell. Chris Farrell is the one that's going to tell you all about how the Amazon app changed. He saw that this morning and texted me at like 3 a.m.
It's the Amazon Voice Services app for Amazon, a word that I don't want to say because there's one on the other side of this monitor that I'll trigger. Are you
trying to avoid saying Alexa?
Oh, don't do it for people that are listening right now.
Is that the word you're trying to avoid?
So for those of you that might be new to the show, instead of saying her name, I tend to try and say Amazon Voice Services on the show. So the Amazon Voice Services app was updated last night, and you know me, I sometimes look at the release notes and see what's changed, and it said something about home automation stuff, and I went, like Tim the Toolman Taylor, of course. And I went, well, what did they do on this? I mean, because I could already talk to my Amazon Voice Services devices and tell them I want to do stuff. Well, in order to set up like my light bulbs and all sorts of other things in my house to work with Amazon Voice Services, I had to link it to my Wink account, which is the smart home hub I use. Well, now there is a panel under the smart home settings in the Amazon app, which allows me to turn lights off and on at the touch of a button, to adjust the brightness of my light bulbs and things like that. And I went, okay, that's kind of cool. It's not something I'm going to use very often because, like I said, I have the Wink app. But where it's going to be very interesting is, remember, the new, the Echo Plus that they just put out? That's supposed to be a home automation centerpiece right there. Because remember, they put a hub in there to make it be the centerpiece of all of your home automation stuff. So instead of just talking to it all the time now, there's an interface within the Amazon Voice Services app so that you can control these smartphone devices at a touch without having to use your voice, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little upgrade. I'm curious to see how it evolves going forward. Now, interesting enough, I did not see things like my Harmony hub in there because that's how I control the TV and stuff. So we'll see if they upgrade it enough so that it also starts tying in other devices that exist outside my Wink hub.
You know, when you sent this to me, I was very excited to see it because I don't have it yet because, as you may or may not know, the Amazon voice service device, Amazon Echo, is not actually available in Canada officially yet. So I have one, but I had to bring it in from the States and it doesn't always work. I also cannot get the Amazon Echo app in the Google Play Store up in Canada. So that's out for me. I can sideload it if I want. I can sideload it, but I haven't yet. So this is really cool though, because of the fact that there are devices that I have, I might talk about one in a couple minutes, that aren't compatible with my Wink system, but they are compatible with Amazon Echo. So the idea about being able to buy more services and use them, bring them in, and let Amazon voice services be the hub, so to speak, and then actually still just control it from one app is awesome. I hope they embrace this. I hope they really do use this, because that is what I need to start really picking up some deals on some of these other home automation devices that aren't Wink compatible. Because if I can tie them into one central hub, being the Amazon Echo, and have one app, that's fantastic.
The real interesting thing will be to see how they extend IFT support. For those who aren't familiar, it's a website called ifttt.com, if this then that, which is used to kind of trigger a bunch of these different services. If they expand the Amazon Voice Services API so that IFT is able to leverage some of these new smart home capabilities, that's huge for those of us that like to tinker.
Agreed. SP, you're quite the winker. What's your thoughts on this?
I just want to say thank you very much for installing the Amazon Key in your house, because now I can dress up like a UPS guy and get in anytime I want to.
That's just role playing, man.
And finally, in our extra news point today, we're going to tell you about how Google Home is finally catching up with Amazon Echo, because I got to say, the last couple Amazon Echo changes have been catching up with some of the Google Home stuff. So nice to see it being reversed for once, again, because let's be honest, the first part of Google Home was completely catching up with Amazon Echo. But yes, Google Home has announced today that you can now use it for a speakerphone between them, so an intercom. All you got to do is say, hey, keyword. So, okay. Well, wait a second here. Google, broadcast it's dinner time, and then it will broadcast to everybody that it's dinner time. Now, that's finally a good feature for them to be adding, because some of the other Google Home features they've been adding have kind of made you scratch your head a little bit, but this is something that could definitely be used. I absolutely could see a case where I could be using it myself. For example, let's say that I am sitting neglecting my kids and they're upstairs watching TV. I mean,
that's every day.
Never mind. I do really like the intercom thing, though. I have to say the intercom thing is something that it's good feature for both Amazon Echo as well as Google to have.
I'm trying to reverse my Echo right now. Steve, how do I do that? Do I just flip it around? Do I invert it? How do I reverse the Echo?
You take it, step one, put it out on the road. Step two, wait for a car to drive over it.
It would probably survive. It's built like a hockey puck.
Well, let's find out. Steven, take your Echo out in the middle of the road.
Okay.
Report back to us tomorrow.
Chris, I know that you are locked into the Amazon, but do you think this was worth Google integrating this into the Google Home?
Oh, sure. It makes total sense. It's a capability that a lot of people have asked for, and it makes sense in a smart home environment. Like, I don't have the Google version, but I have the Amazon version, and I use it all the time when the girlfriend's upstairs or something and I'm cooking dinner, or other way around. It's an easy way to be like, hey, dinner's ready, or hey, what about so-and-so? Someone's at the door, something like that. It's incredibly convenient, and I might actually play with some of this Google stuff, because they did update the Google app on my Android TV built into my Sony screen. So now it will do smart home integration and stuff like that. So I might try and use it, because my remote control does have a microphone in it, so I can tell it to do things.
I will say that I definitely, out of using Google Assistant on my Google Pixel, trying to do the smart home stuff compared to my Amazon Echo. I have definitely found the Amazon Echo more straightforward. I still have had a weird problem with the Google Assistant as far as connecting to my Wink. But I'm going to say this, that I am tired of waiting and that it's about to be deal time happening again. And Google Home Mini is new, but I'm sure we're going to start to see some deals. And Christmas is my breaking point. If Christmas comes and goes without Amazon Echo being officially within Canada, I'm going to wait for the next deal and probably buy myself a Mini somewhere along the way, because I can't wait anymore. These devices are so helpful when you have home automation. And for me to be sitting there and waiting for the Amazon Echo to come to Canada and them continuously let me down, it might just win me over to Google.
Did you just say Christmas was going to break you this year? Dude, we need to get you a vacation.
Christmas breaks me every year.
We have seen his light set up, so it very well could break him every year.
So interestingly enough, I was listening to you guys talk about these smart controller stuff because I really don't have anything other than my Harmony hubs that it's linked to my Amazon stuff. So I was wondering, how much does this affect people in the United States? So I ran a search and I ran into a Statistica.com article that really looked at the amount of smart homes in 2017 and then forecasted out to 2022. So it was in 6 different compartments: smart appliances, energy management, home entertainment, security, comfort and lighting, and control and connectivity. So in 2017, the number of American homes with smart appliances is about 14 million. The amount of American homes with energy management is 12.5 million. The amount of American homes with home entertainment is 15.5 million. The amount of American homes with smart security systems is 18 million. The amount of American homes with smart homes in comfort and lighting is 16.8 million, and the amount of smart homes in 2017 with control and connectivity is 22.5 million. So you're talking roughly somewhere between 5-10% of the population is actually have homes that can do this. So that's interesting to know that you're talking to 5 to 10% of the population right there.
You know what's really interesting from all of our smart home or voice service specifically talk is it is amazing how many times we've had firsthand experiences with people who you would never think would have one, such as the older generation, but they're just loving it. I know you, SP, have a personal experience with somebody using, I think it was the Amazon Echo, wasn't it?
For what?
Just in general, using didn't you have your parents using?
Yes. My parents are now using it for like shopping lists. Yeah.
It's really crazy to see all of these people who are embracing it at the other end of the spectrum. And it's coming. It's just as we refine. I know it's going to be a matter of time until everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have them and they're very mainstream. I've seen a lot of giveaways done at workplaces and things like that. Now, obviously, there's some people who won't want it creeping on you, peeking on you. That's fair. But I embrace it. I embrace it.
And once again, I thank you very much for installing the Amazon key in your house.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Steven's geeky stuff. Here we go.
There's something that has Steven's attention. So much so that he's itching to talk to you about it. What is this something? You're about to find out. This is Steven's geeky stuff.
Speaking of smart home, let's continue on with some more smart home talk. I know.
It's like we knew what was coming.
Which is surprising because we never plan anything.
Never, ever.
No.
No.
All right, today I'm talking about these for you video viewers. It is the Belkin WeMo switches. Now, if you're not familiar with Belkin WeMo, they're actually one of the first smart switches that were around. They've been around for a very, very, very long time. The version that I'm using is actually one of the older versions because I actually picked up a couple of these on super clearance a little bit ago. Now, if you didn't check out last year's Christmas episode, that's episode 173 of the GonnaGeek.com show. You can find that at geeks.link/173. I did a whole walkthrough of my smart devices. Now, here's the thing. As I mentioned, my smart stuff is primarily Wink driven, because I have just found that it's been the right price point for me. It's been convenient, and overall it's worked pretty well. So a lot of my stuff, my color changing bulbs, my dimmer switches, my lights, all of this stuff is all Wink integrated. And there's only a couple things that I have that aren't. Now, here's the thing about the Belkin WeMo is they are not Wink compatible, but they are absolutely something that I wanted to give a try because, well, as we know, Christmas is right around the corner, and I am that crazy Christmas guy. So why not spend $11 for a Switch on clearance to try to automate a couple more things? Because it is Amazon Echo compatible. So, okay, maybe I can't go into my Wink app, but I can go and tell Amazon Echo or Amazon Voice Service to turn off my various stuff. So that's pretty cool. Plus it is if this then that compatible, also allowing me to bridge that gap between the Belkin WeMo and the Wink. Now, the thing to remember is because it is not actually a Wink device, it is a Wi-Fi device. So the way, just to set the stage, the way that Wink works is that Wink, you have a central hub that goes to the internet. Now, if it's the original hub, it goes by wireless to the internet. If it's the Wink Hub 2, you might possibly have it wired. All of your light bulbs and your switches and your dimmers and all that stuff, they talk to that hub through its own proprietary technology. Well, not proprietary technology, but its own technology, Z-Wave or Zigbee, whichever it's compatible with. And it talks to the hub, and then the hub talks to the internet. Well, with the Belkin WeMos, they are all individual Wi-Fi devices, meaning that they themselves are talking to your router. So let's start with the setup. What was my experience setting up the Belkin WeMo? Now, keep in mind, I am somebody who has some experience with home automation. Let me put it straightforward. It was a pain in the you-know-what.
The tushy.
In the tushy. It was partially due to my own doing, but it was also partially just because the setup process is a little bit clunky. Now, if you missed that episode, there is a big vulnerability right now with wireless called crack. It is a big, universal, across-the-world problem with the fundamental security that is within the wireless technology. So, as I mentioned, these WeMo devices are wireless. Therefore, I do not trust them to be patched yet. I just don't. I don't trust them to be patched yet. So
Forever.
Pretty much forever, yeah. So I thought, well, I want to go and set them up on a guest network, because that was ideal. I'll just set them up on their own isolated network. It'll all be individually isolated because it's a guest network, and that's the way it works. And it didn't work, because the way that you have to set things up is you start by, when you start up the WeMo switch, it opens up this open wireless for you to connect your phone to and go through the initial configuration. So then when you're doing that setup, you specify the wireless network to connect to. Once you get to that point, now it wants you to continue the setup via wireless. So you have to be on the same network. Now, what that means is when I have my guest network set up, where everything is all individually isolated like I want it to be, because who knows if this will ever be patched for crack, I can't now connect, because my phone can no longer see the WeMo because we're on a guest network. So I had to go and shut off the guest access. And in theory, I think I'll be able to turn it back on, but I had to go shut off the guest protocols in order to get this working. Once I got that figured out, the setup itself through the app was really odd. I would get to the point of naming the switch, and as soon as I would name it, it would almost start the setup again and then show the reflected change. So I did have the wireless network in there, but it kind of took me back a step. So it was really weird and really confusing. And just as somebody who might be getting into this for the first time, I will say it was not very friendly at all. So I was able to get it set up eventually, got it connected, and then from there was able to share it out so that I can control it remotely. But not a very smooth setup, and I will say that I found the Wink setup to be significantly easier.
I wonder if that's part of the reason it was on clearance, is that it's clunky. Because I'd read some reviews on Amazon, and in fact, the Amazon ratings were in part because of the setup process, if I remember right.
Yeah. Now, what are some cons of the WeMo Switch? Because I do have some cons that I'll run through, and then some pros, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Well, the cons, because it's not account-based like Wink, it's not the easiest thing to share. With Wink, it's easy. I love the way Wink works. I go in, I create myself a Wink account, and then on my Wink Hub or my Wink Relay or whatever device it is that's actually connecting to the internet, I sign into my Wink account. So then it adds on to my Wink account. If I want to share that out, like let's say that I want to make sure that SP can turn on the outdoor light when he gives me his late night call, he just goes and he creates a Wink account, and then I go into my profile and I share it. He accepts it, and what do you know? It shows up on his account under his profile, and now when he shows up, it's not dark for him anymore. So it's as easy as that. With the Belkin sharing process, you have to first be on the same wireless network like I established, and then from there, you can share your account. So in order to really connect a device, you got to make sure that device is at least on the network once. So if I go and I get myself a new tablet or a new phone, I'm going to need to set up the WeMo app, connect it to the network that has my switches on there, making sure, of course, to disable guest protocol, and then have it connect and pick up all those switches, and from there, enable the sharing. So it's really clunky, really odd, really weird, and not the best way in the world to share. And so that's the same thing I had to do with my wife's phone. Put her on the network, have her pull up the WeMo app, detect them, and then share it. The other thing that is really weird with, and not so good with the WeMo, is that the actual specific device is a bigger item. Now, yes, this is an older generation, but my guess is partially because it actually has to do the Wi-Fi talking itself. It's going to have to be a little bit larger of technology. So it is a little bit bigger, and therefore is not as easy. It's a visual eyesore. Okay, I'll just be honest. It's a total visual eyesore. And the other thing that is really not very good with it is that you have to be on a Wi-Fi network, and thus you're subject to possible Wi-Fi problems. I'll give you an example of that. For some reason, the wireless switch where I originally located it was in such a position that I had such clutter on the channel that my Wi-Fi router was on. It was not connecting to the Wi-Fi until I switched the channel to a different one. And sure enough, I pulled up my Android app afterwards and did a Wi-Fi scan. And yeah, that channel was really cluttered. So just like you sometimes have with other wireless devices, because it is using a wireless signal, you might possibly have that with these switches. With stuff like Wink, you're directly talking through its own communication channel that isn't wireless, isn't the standard wireless protocol. So a little bit odd and a little bit weird. Now, as for some of the pros, well, there's a reason I saved the pros for last, because if I'm comparing the Wink Switch to the WeMo Switch, for me, there isn't really any pros, because the Wink just works better for everything because I have it now. The only pro that I would truly say is that I bought it for $11. And then that's really hard to beat.
That's a pretty good pro right there, man. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah. Aside from that, you might say the Wi-Fi could possibly be a pro if you don't already have a system, if you're willing to deal with those challenges, because at least you don't need a hub that way like you do with Wink. I guess the other possible pro that I could think of was that, WeMo has been around for a while, and they're made by Belkin, so the odds are Belkin will continue to support because they are Belkin.
Well, the fact it's made by Belkin could also be a con.
So I don't know. Overall, it's going to serve its function, which is adding a couple of extra smart devices over the Christmas season when all of my smart switches are being used to control various lighting apparatuses outside. But aside from that, I just couldn't see myself getting into Belkin WeMo for day-to-day use. It's fine for my intended purpose, which is using an Amazon Echo to control stuff over Christmas, but it's just, I gotta say, I really am a big fan of the Wink system as well. I'm assuming SmartThings is probably similar, but the Wink platform compared to the WeMo.
I've been looking to try and find a plug that I liked well, and I'd considered the WeMo before, except for the fact that Wink compatibility is the linchpin of things for me. Now, the new Amazon Voice Services capability to pretty much act as a hub in and of itself has me intrigued, but for $11, if I wanted to set up, say, a plug to have a now recording light on a schedule so it would go on outside my podcasting studio, think it's a good solution, minus the headaches?
Yeah, why not? Because you've got an Amazon Echo sitting right there, so you could program.
I've got like 6 of them sitting right here, Stephen.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd be set. I would say that if you're able to get it for $11, you might as well pick one up to play with somewhere. I will definitely get my use. I picked up a couple of them. I will get my use of both of them over Christmas, but I just don't see them getting used much other than that. But for $11 each, picking up 2 of them, you know what? What is that? A strand of light somewhere? Like, it's the same price. SP, would you ever get yourself a WeMo?
I don't know if I get a WeMo. I'm kind of sitting on the fence right now, waiting for kind of a clear path forward for a central hub. I mean, I had that Wink that I never actually took out of the box. And at this point in time, I don't know if I will because of compatibility issues and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking for something that I know is going to last, that's going to last longer than a year, because this is a lot of money to lay out, even at $11. It's a lot of money to lay out for something that might not work in another year.
You know, the thing with the Wink compatibility, and I again look forward to one day finding the right deal on SmartThings, but in theory, many of the Wink compatible things should work with SmartThings because of the Z-Wave, right? Right, Chris? Isn't that correct, or is that wrong?
The Wink should, because it communicates on a variety of different wireless protocols.
Yeah, so I want to one day get a SmartThing so that I can check the compatibility, but it would have to be a really good price because that would just make me feel better about continuing, because I haven't really expanded for a while. Last year it was pretty much it actually after Christmas last year. I don't think I've done anything else since then. So there you go. But Google, the bottom line is that Google Home, Amazon Echo, they're going to be our heroes. If they can be compatible with all of these different devices, then we no longer need to pull out our phones. We can just go ahead and just speak our mind and then feel like we're in Star Trek. And that's ultimately the end game of all home automation, is feeling like we're in Star Trek.
Basically, even just having my Amazon device play holiday music, I can do that, and then I can give basically a thumbs up or thumbs down to the music that's being played so that the device learns what my preferences are, and I don't get these crazy holiday songs that really nobody ever wants to hear or should hear, but are there because it's cheap for Amazon to have the rights to.
Maybe they'll start also giving you the transcripts of all the Hallmark specials.
That would be awesome.
Awesome. So there you go. That's going to take you towards the end of the show. Before we wrap up, we'll just take a moment here to remind you that we are part of the Gonna Geek Network. And also on the Gonna Geek Network is a show called the Digital Soup Podcast. If you want to check out the Digital Soup Podcast, you can check that out, where every week Anthony, Chris, and Naki talk about the latest happenings in the world of Greek geek over at the Digital Soup Podcast. Sorry, it's usually Naki. That's what it is. I'm just egging on some people, a little network rivalry. That's all. But yeah, you should definitely check out the Gonna Geek Network. There's a whole bunch of awesome shows on there. And that was actually a little bit of an inside joke. If you listen to those shows, you can hear that ATGN and Digital Soup, they got their dukes up. They got a rivalry going. And I don't even know how Chris stands me promoting Digital Soup on the show, because I just know that Chris is against them.
Grr, I hate those guys so much. Grr. Did I play my part right, Steven? Did I do good?
I will say that Digital Soup is by far the better show.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree. And I'm the producer.
SPD, you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, sure. The Hallmark Holiday Channel. They've got 21 new holiday movies this year. It's going to be great. Just go catch it on your streaming service. Yeah, I like it, and it's good feel stuff. But no, the Gonna Geek Network has a lot of great stuff, and we're coming into the end of the year. There's going to be a lot of podcasts that have their end of the year specials, and it's going to be fun. So go ahead, check that out at GonnaGeek.com, and then we can't wait for 2018 because Gonna Geek is going to have a great year. We've already set some things in motion for 2018, so just stand by. Gonna Geek is going to continue to rock your world.
Chris, do you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
I would like to plug breaking into Steven's house and stealing all of his home automation toys. And when you do, bring them to me. Bring them to me, guys.
Let's be honest. You probably have the better setup. Let's be totally honest on that.
That's because I can legitimately use Amazon voice services.
That and Chris doesn't have any kids. You have kids.
That's
I mean,
true.
the kids would just learn how to use them and they'd run your house.
Well, anyways, for episode 215 of the official GonnaGeek.com show, I'm Stephen John Drew. I love my home automation.
I'm SP and I love my home automation.
I'm Chris Farrell, and I think I made my house too smart. It's watching me. If I disappear, blame my house.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen John Drew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.